We're ready for the start. They're off.
And welcome in, everybody. It's official, our weekly banner show presented by First Bet and Express Bet. Jeremy Plonk and Jeff Siegel with you as we're going to take on 5 topics this week as we do every Tuesday. Jeff Siegel, welcome in.
It's a good day to be with you, Jeremy. We've had good racing in the past a few weeks. Great racing coming up as well, right smack in the middle of August. Lots of good things happening in August, Jeremy. And the gambling's been good. The field size has been good in both tracks. It's just been so far. I have you always have complaints because that's the nature of what we do. But I can't really complain. Everything's been pretty darn good so far.
Life gets a little bit better tomorrow morning as well. Internationally, here stateside, the Juddmonte International being held in England tomorrow with one of the top horses in the world, Baaeed, going in that one. So we'll get a chance to see that world superstar. You can bet the race with First Bet and Express Bet. Be sure to check out all of our content surrounding Juddmonte International tomorrow. Should be a big day in England. But Jeff, we've got to talk stateside 5 topics, and that's what we do each week here on the show. So let's get to the big board. And our first topic of this week: good times at Del Mar. Ain't we lucky we got them, as they say, back in the good times theme. It's going very well at Del Mar so far in this 2021 meet. Numbers are up, both in terms of attendance and handle, and the race is on the track.
It's been really good, and it just goes to show you what field size, which I think triggers everything. It has an impact, a positive impact on business. Handle is up more than 6%, which is good. Attendance is up from about 24% from last year. Of course, it was still a kind of a COVID thing last year, so they were really very careful about having people show up. But they're letting people show up now, and they're taking advantage. But again, field size, averaging 9.3 starters per race. That leads the nation. Who would ever thought that California would even be remotely in that discussion? But Del Mar is putting on a great show. Again, fueled by great purses. I've been told that there are almost 3,000 horses now available to race in the various training centers and at Del Mar itself. And it's spread the wealth, too. 52 trainers have already won at least one race at Del Mar this year. And that's great because from all standpoints, it helps people stay in the business when they're winning. It's good for the gambler when 1 or 2 or 5 or 6 trainers don't dominate everything. It just makes handicapping just more interesting, and it really is good. And yet, the form's holding. 35% favorites so far. That's just about what you'd like to see. You don't want to see 40, 45 because that means they're short prices and you can't make any money. And maybe 20 to 25% would be a little bit too low. Sometimes that means the form is like not dependable. So when you're hitting about 30, 35%, it means the form is still good. But with the big fields, you're making money and you have a chance to make substantial hits and rolling exotics. So everything is good at Del Mar. We still have 4 weeks to go, so it's not going to end anytime soon, I don't think. And I'm looking forward to going down there this weekend. I'll be there Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and enjoying it on track. And really looking forward to continuing a really lucrative meeting so far for us and for the followers that we have at ExpressBet.
And folks watching our podcast this week versus the audio version, getting some of the video look from Del Mar's Cool as Ever videos, their promotional campaign over the years. Video courtesy of the Del Mar Cool as Ever campaign. Jeff, we were joking a little bit watching some of the video before we came on the air. They don't always look like that every day when we go to the track, do they?
I don't never run into these kind of people. I don't know. Maybe I'm just hanging out on the wrong part of the grandstand, but these people are having a good time. They look like they can afford to have a good time. I'm usually holed up in the press box, though. Good viewing spot there. And when I go there, I'm not really going to have a lot of fun. I'm going there to make money, and I'm doing the work, trying to anyway. And I tell you what, though, if you're making money, you're having fun. And every day, every weekend, we've seen good cards, big fields, challenging races, contentious races, chances for prices. I know it's like that at Saratoga most of the time. We're not that used to it here in California, but so far so good. And I just hope that the momentum can carry over when Santa Anita resumes racing in the fall. Some great racing coming up there. I know that they're are doing everything they can at Santa Anita to try to maintain the field sizes, and we'll see if that's successful. But Del Mar, they're killing it, and my hat's off to them.
And the meet is a little bit different this year. They started a week later, which means they're going to run a week later. So maybe the best times for Del Mar still haven't been realized yet. I don't know if they can keep the field size up for 4, 6, 7 weeks all the way through the end of the meeting, but they're going to have 3 days in September, the 9th, the 10th, and 11th of September. They're closing 3-day weekend at Del Mar where there's no racing in New York, period. Saratoga's done. The Belmont meet is scrapped. They're going to Aqueduct on the 15th of September. So there's going to be a dead grace period of racing in New York during the final 3 days of racing at Del Mar. They could put up some monster handle days. And of course, Pacific Classic Day is a week later on the calendar. So we're talking about the success of the Del Mar meet so far. And they don't have the benefit of the Pacific Classic in those numbers yet. That's still another week away at the end of the month. So or the September 3rd, that's been pushed back to Labor Day Saturday for the Pacific Classic. So that's not even going to be part of the August numbers. Could be a big finish for Del Mar as well as this big start.
Yeah, and I looked at the condition book for Pacific Classic. There's like 5 or 6 stakes. Most of them are graded. The promise is to have very competitive fields, and that is going to be a monster day. I'll be watching football, college football that day too. It's going to be a pretty busy day for yours truly, and I'm sure for you as well,
Absolutely.
Jeremy. But it's still going to be fun racing, and again, it's good when the business is this strong. I think everybody, the horsemen, the fans, they all feel like there's still life in the old game, and we're going to enjoy it.
I'll say this though, Jeff, if you are ranking the Del Mar crowd based on the characters you see in the press box, there's no wonder you've got a bad impression. I've been around the press boxes with all due respect to the ladies in the press and part of the administrative staffs in the press box. The guys hanging around the press box, they haven't gotten any prettier over the years.
Truer words have never been spoken, But like I say, I'm there to work and make money, so
that's right.
Maybe,
you work so everybody else can play. That's the whole idea.
I'm going to use that. That's good.
Check it out. Let's see what Jeff's got for us this week at Del Mar's. Had another good handicapping week on the Express Bet and First Bet blogs last week. To topic 2 on the schedule this week, dollars and divots in Louisville. Dollars specifically, we're talking million, as in Arlington Million. Divots, we are specifically talking about parts of the racetrack that didn't stay with us during the Beverly D and the Arlington Million on Saturday. Jeff, let's go back to Santon at the top of the stretch, taking over in the Arlington Million, going by smooth like straight. But it's more about what's behind them than what's in front of them. This turf course was not ready for prime time.
No, it wasn't. And they really misjudged it. They really shouldn't have run it. I mean, it's kind of ugly. Most of the horses that are getting beat here are just not handling it. They're slipping and sliding. Obviously, Shanton and Smooth Like Straight, who were 1-2 every step of the way, they handled it right from the start, and everybody else was swimming. But give it up to Santon. He's a nice horse by Distorted Humor, trained by Brendan Walsh. He's never been considered a top grade 1 horse, but he got one here. And Smooth Like Straight, he just simply, he keeps running. He just can't seal the deal. I feel sorry for him. He's a good horse. He tries hard. He's just second all the time. But they ran fast because I don't think there was a lot of grass there. It was mostly dirt, right. 146-4, but it wasn't a pretty race. And they tried to resuscitate this, but Jeremy, I'm not so sure whether the Arlington Million, there's no more Arlington, there's no more Deschassois, there's no more Beverly D. I just think they should just let it go. And if they want to put on a big race this time of the year, find something new to call it and then maybe change it up. This used to be a race where you get a lot of international presence. No international, no shippers here. It was just another decent sort of grass race.
Yeah, I called it the Harlington Million. It's hardly the Arlington Million. And, the public kind of responded in kind, because the last time we saw a true Arlington Million, bricks and mortar, 2019, you look at the win, place, and show, the exacta, the try, the super within the race, $2.6 million in handle. They only handled 1.6 on those same intra-race pools in this year's Arlington Million. The Beverly D handle was down considerably as well. This just wasn't what we're used to seeing from these two marquee events. I will say, you said it was, basically running on the dirt in a lot of cases. The Beverly D went 146.31, broke Lore's course record that stood since 1993. You and I talked about Lore last week and the great champion, and he was on the turf. I don't think Dalika and Lore are in the same conversation. This is a deal where a course made a time more than necessarily a performance did. So thumbs down on the experiment. Now the challenge becomes for Churchill Downs is they've got a meet coming up in about a month's time. They're going to go Kentucky Downs. Ellis Park will finish up, then some Kentucky Downs, and then the Churchill Downs, and they've got that September meet. Jeff, I would think turf racing is in high question right now for that September meet.
I would think so. You can't have what we just saw, and I don't know what a month is going to prove. Maybe they should just get it right for the spring meeting and just try to do what they ever can do for the fall and use the dirt. But you got to have a good grass course. And that's the one thing that you appreciate. Sometimes we take it for granted, but Saratoga's got two really, really good grass courses. Del Mar's grass course is held up. In fact, it looks great. Santa Anita's always had a good grass course. You can count on it. And when you watch what happened at Churchill, you just kind of figure, I mean, it can be done if you do it right. And they just didn't do it right. And I'm sure they tried, and whatever they tried, it didn't work. But they got now maybe 9 months to figure it out. Forget about the fall. Let's get it ready for next spring.
Yeah, back in my days when I was working at Remington Park in Oklahoma City during the quarter horse meet, every pickup truck on the backstretch had the same bumper sticker. It was an AQHA promo, "Let the dirt fly." You don't want that for the Arlington Million. That's not where you want the dirt fly. You want that to be the quarter horses on the main track, and they've got some work to do on that turf course at Churchill. Let's go to our third topic this week on It's Official. The Spa Chalk bites the dust. We've seen it a couple times this meet already where big favorites went down in defeat at Saratoga. It's got the nickname Graveyard of Favorites. This past weekend was no different. Let's go back to Casa Creed pulling the upset in the 4-star Dave over Regal Glory, who was heavily favored.
As the field comes to the top of the stretch, Casa Creed follows the move of Regal Glory as they head for home now. It is Get Smokin', Mason on the outside, Regal Glory, and they're moving now for the 16th pole. It's Get Smokin', it's Mason, it's Casa Creed on the outside, and then Regal Glory. Here is Casa Creed, who makes the last move, the winning move in the Grade 1 4-star Dave handicap. Casa Creed ran the mile in 1 minute, 34 1/5 seconds.
Jeff, to this eye, no visible excuses to me for Regal Glory. She just got beat to the punch here, and the punch was a strong knockout thrown by what we both thought was a closing turf sprinter. I know we talked about this on our Friday handicapping podcast. When we do the First Call podcast, we were wondering to ourselves, was Casa Creed a closing sprinter or was he a miler? I think our consensus was closing sprinter, but he put himself in the mile discussion in a big way with that win in the 4-star Dave.
Yeah, it was a good win for him. He surprised me. He was dead last early, even though he was coming out of sprints, but that's his style. And what I like about what Luis says that he says maybe he is a one-turn horse. I'm going to ride him the same way. I'm not going to change his style. Maybe he'll flatten out. Maybe he won't. But he took him back to last. They didn't go fast, 24, 47, 4, 11, and 2. And then he was able to blast home and really outkick Regal Glory, who really had every chance. I'm torn between giving Casa Creed the credit that he deserves for winning this Grade 1 race. But then also thinking that maybe Regal Glory and Mason, who I also thought ran below par, maybe they didn't really bring their A game, and that helped Casa Creed. But the win is a win, and really Regal Glory, who was at age 6, was never better, but she just didn't rise to the occasion, despite the fact that she had a reasonable trip, and Mason had a perfect trip, and I expected him to, as the race developed, to really be tough to catch in the final furlong, and he kind of waved the white flag too. Right. So I'm not sure Casa Creed beat a field that brought their best, but he won. So he's a win and you're in, and we'll see how good he is in the fall at the Keeneland.
Now, Regal Glory wasn't even the biggest favorite on the Saturday card at Saratoga. Expected to win in the stakes ranks. That was Gulfport going to post in the Saratoga Special, heavily favored, but it didn't work out well for him either. He did incur a little trouble. Let's take a look back.
It is Super Chow in front here, now by a length and a half. And then comes Gulfport. as Valenzende has dropped out of it. Damon's Mound now makes his move on the outside. Oh, Gulfport had a steady there. Gulfport had to check coming to the top of the stretch. The half went in 45 seconds. It is Super Chow and Damon's Mound on the outside, and Gulfport trying to get back in it again. It is Damon's Mound who now has come away with the lead. Super Chow runs in second, and Gulfport is third. Farther back, Valenzende as they head for the 16th pole. Damon's Mound has built a 4-length lead. Gulfport in second, and it will be Damon's Mound to win the 117th Saratoga Special. Gulfport was second, and the time was 1 minute 17 and 4/5 seconds.
So the Virginia summer base, Damon's Mound, comes north to Saratoga for Michelle Lovell and gets the victory. Asserts himself off of 2 big victories now. The win at Churchill Downs in the career debut was much talked about. And Gulfport coming out of those races at Churchill, Jeff, was even more talked about. How much do you think the loss had to do with checking on the turn, and how much of it was simply being outrun by Damon's Mound?
I thought Gulfport actually was being outrun at the time he checked. Now, obviously, the inside horse Super Chow came out and impeded him. But if you watch the tape closely, you'll notice that Damon's Mound was actually going by him and was outrunning Gulfport. Gulfport then steadied and lost his chance and then picked it up again. But given the trip that Gulfport had at the time, he was outside the 2 speed horses. He was in the clear. He had every chance to blow by when he wanted to. He didn't have that kick, that blow-by kick that I thought he was going to have.
Right.
Damon's Mound was professional. But, Jeremy, they ran the last 16th of a mile in 6.98, so they weren't really finishing.
And they looked tired running. I mean, that looked like a laboring field. You know, sometimes the times don't match up with your eyeballs. Right. They looked tired, and the time matched up with that. And
Damon's Mound, maybe he moved prematurely. He moved, instead of moving at the top of the stretch, he moved a little earlier because he was, obviously Gabriel Saez might have been riding it like a match race. And so, but I'm, the buyer number was okay, not great. I was disappointed in Gulfport. I thought based on his Churchill form, he would step forward again, and he didn't. I thought Damon's Mound was in the right place at the right time. I'll give him credit. But there are better 2-year-olds out there. I promise you. And
especially
I think
going long.
Yeah. I mean, so you win the Saratoga Special. It's a grade 2 event. It's a good purse. It's a good race to win. But looking down the road, I'm not convinced that there aren't a lot better out there. And maybe at Saratoga, and certainly here at Del Mar, I've seen a number of 2-year-olds that are going to be monsters. And to me, it'll all shake out in the fall, but give it up to Damon's Mound. It's good to see a smaller outfit win at Saratoga, and now it's up to him to go on and see what he can do to verify his undefeated record.
I kind of thought the horse might be sold after the career debut, smaller connection, smaller time owners, and you had to think the phone was ringing off the hook to purchase that one away. His sales price probably was never going to be higher than it was after that debut. Now he's a stakes winner, but I don't think anybody's going to be, offering 7 figures now.
You're right.
He seems to have a bit of a ceiling, but he looks very good right now. No knock.
He does, but now you see, when you win by 12 first time out, as he did, you can envision sky's the limit. Now you come to win a stakes, and I don't envision sky's the limit anymore. So one thing I've noticed that when I was buying a lot of horses for Team Valor back in the 90s, when we were feeding our stable with private purchases, we had better success, believe it or not, buying horses from bigger stables. The little guy doesn't want to sell because he's never going to get that chance at glory. And this is his one shot. And you just don't. We have never had much success with that. But with the bigger outfits, I mean, Sheikh Mohammed, we bought Martial Law off of him. He didn't need the money, I guarantee you. We bought him. He won the big cap for us. So we had better luck doing that. So I don't know whether a horse like this will ever get sold, at least based on what the connections are looking for, because sometimes it's not about money. It's just being in the sport, in the game, and wanting to enjoy it while you can.
And we talk about these spa favorites biting the dust. Matarraya beaten at a couple cents on the dollar a few
Mhm.
weeks ago. We've seen this over the last several years at Saratoga. Matoli, Sister Charlie, Malathot, heavy favorites that we really
Mhm.
know on a national scale going down at Saratoga. That helps feed that graveyard of favorites reputation that's gone on for generations now.
Mhm.
Statistically, it's not that much different at Saratoga than it is other places. I ran the numbers through the BetMix database. Over the
Mhm.
last 5 years, even money favorites nationally have won 51.5, 52%. At Saratoga, it's 49.9.
It's
For
not
even
bad.
money or less favorites. So
Right.
a tick or two below. And when you get all the way down to 1 to 2, like some of these big, heavy favorites, they win nationally at 63.2%. At Saratoga, it's 62.3. So about a percent difference in terms of winning favorites at these heavy levels from Saratoga to Del Mar. But boy, are they some memorable names, and they stick with us when those horses get beat. Let's go
Right.
to topic number 4 this week on the show. It's official. It's Big Invasion versus Golden Powell. And I don't think it'd be a podcast if we didn't mention Big Invasion at some point. Jeff, he has been a stalwart, just wrapping up win after win during the time of our podcast this spring and summer. Let's go back to his win on Sunday in the Mahoney at Saratoga, his most recent victory.
The big favorite, Big Invasion, who's on the outside as the field comes into the stretch. It is That's Right, Catamosto. Big Invasion is now gaining ground on the outside along with Determined Kingdom as they move for the 16th pole. And here is Big Invasion making that big move again on to victory from off the pace. And it's now 6 in a row for Big Invasion.
So we can't just talk about this horse winning races like the Mahoney. We've got to put him up against something. So fictionally, that's what we're doing here. The matchup is set already. Big Invasion and Golden Powell. Big Invasion to 3-year-old. Golden Powell, the star 4-year-old for trainer Wesley Ward. Jeff, it seems to me until somebody's going to warm him up in the 3-year-old ranks, we've got to see this matchup. Big Invasion, Golden Powell. Let's get him together, can we?
I hope so. I mean, Big Invasion. Look, he's running against 3-year-olds. He's undefeated in the non-conference part of the schedule.
Right.
He's supposed to beat these mid-major 3-year-olds, right?
Yeah.
Now it starts to get real. But the way he's been running, he's a weird kind of sprinter because he's the more he races, it seems like he's losing his tactical gait speed. He's falling farther and farther back. But his closing kick is becoming more devastating by the race. I mean, he gobbled up those horses in no time from the 3/16 to the 16th pole. He must have gone in 10 and change and did it easily, one under wraps, high 90 buyer numbers. And now he's looking for bigger fish to fry, as they say, because there's nobody in the 3-year-old division that can cut with him. And let's not forget that the Breeders' Cup turf, sprint turf is 5.5 this year, not 5. That's what Golden Powell maybe excels at.
Yeah.
And what I have seen of this colt and what I've seen of Golden Powell, at least lately, if I had to choose one or the other, I'd choose Big Invasion. But I know Golden Powell's going to be the defending champion, assuming he gets there. He's not going to lay down, but it's going to be a great, match race. I think to see who can beat who, the speed horse versus the deep closer, if it materializes.
The real differentiator between the two is the 4 trips to Europe for Golden Powell, But if you look at the American records, they're both 6 for 7 in the United States.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Identical records. They both won at 4 different racetracks, very similar racetracks. Big Invasion wins his races by a block in turf sprint standards. His average win margin is 3 lengths, and he's never been closer than 2 lengths in his victories. Golden Powell's only got 3 wins of his 6 in the U.S. by 3 lengths or more. So what Big Invasion's been doing routinely is kind of like sometimes Golden Powell opens him up like that, but other times Golden Powell's been in a bit more of a dogfight, including his most recent race at Saratoga when he was in Detroit. And I want to call that up, let fans take a look at that because Jeff's talking about where are they right now. We just saw where Big Invasion is right now in his form. Here's what Golden Powell looked like in Detroit a couple weeks ago.
And here is Golden Powell up on the outside to challenge True Valor for the lead. True Valor digs down on the inside. Golden Powell is right there. So it is True Valor and Golden Powell and Thin White Duke putting in a late run on the extreme outside. They come for the finish here, and it is Golden Powell, I believe, narrowly. And the final time on the board, 1 minute and 4/5 seconds.
So that was a tighter outcome than what we're used to seeing. A better field of older horses, but not an elite field. That field in the Troy certainly was not Breeders' Cup turf sprint quality. So he's going to have to up its game as well. I don't think he's running at the form that we saw last year.
No, he's not. He should have. I mean, he was a very, very short price there, and they all kind of finished in a heap. And in 2 more strides, he would have been beaten. So, but Wesley Ward still has some time to get him where he wants him to be. And Big Invasion still has time to improve even more. He's a developing 3-year-old, and one would think that he's got more to give. And you pointed out a very good a stat about how his margin of victories are such. You never see that in turf sprints.
Yeah.
They just don't do that. I mean, at turf sprints, usually they finish close together, and he's blowing everybody out. And I don't know how much he's got left in the tank if he had to go faster and catch a horse that was farther in front of him. Once he goes by these horses in the stretch in the final furlong, he kind of fools around and doesn't really have to extend himself. So I don't think we've seen the best of Big Invasion. I know it's not the most glamorous division, but man, these are neat horses. I love watching them run.
And Golden Powell's ace in the hole was always his speed from the gate. He was 3 in front in the Breeders' Cup Sprint and a jump or two, Remember how fast he broke from the gate? He's not showing that as much this year. So he's going to have to get back to the gate speed. An interesting race, the Woodford Stakes on Fall Stars weekend at Keeneland, opening weekend of the meet at Keeneland in October. Could be the prep for one. Probably not both. I wouldn't run against, for a prep race. I would not run against each other on the undercard. And who knows who may just train up to a particular date for the Breeders' Cup sprint. So
Lieutenant Dan's back in training. He went, and he's going to show up here pretty soon at Del Mar. So he ran.
I needed him last year. Yeah. Oh, I needed him last year. That was my horse last year.
Maybe with an extra half furlong this year, maybe he'll be better off. But no, so it's there. It's still going to be pretty competitive. And again, these are the horses that are neat because they always seem to show up when they don't get hurt. Knock on wood, they just run, and they show up when they have to. They don't run that often, but when they do show up, they usually fire their best shot. So we're looking forward to that.
All right, 5 topics every week. We've got 1 to go on the big board. It's our traditional Stars of Tomorrow that we're doing every week here during the summer. Maybe a 2-year-old debut winner, a 3-year-old in some cases. We've got 1 of each this week to look at, Jeff. Let's start with Cave Rock at Saratoga. Cave Rock was an impressive Cave Rock. Let's go back to his race at Del Mar, I should say, for Bob Baffert. This is Baffert's 2-year-old colt by Arrogate, who debuted on the 13th of August. Let's take a look with Trevor.
They come into the quarter pole now, and Cave Rock is still well clear and going well. Cave Rock by 4 lengths. A belief in this living. Ultimate Gamble has now dropped away. Practical Move makes a move on the outside. Probably the only one got a chance of getting to Cave Rock. But Cave Rock is finding more and still well clear. Practical Move closing the gap on the outside. It's Cave Rock in front. Practical Move is trying to close, but no chance against Cave Rock. And Cave Rock just never gave them a chance. Cave Rock and Wonderland is very impressive.
Jeff, I mentioned Saratoga with this horse because as I was looking down at my notes, I noted that his dam won the Schuylerville at Saratoga. And so this was a win early prospect. He's out of a mare who won her first 2 races of her career for Dale Romans, but he's by Arrogate, who was a late developer. So is it early? Is it late? Or doesn't it matter for Cave Rock? Is he just going to be good?
I think he's really good. I really do. And being by Arrogate, you got to think he'll run long. I was talking to Bob Baffert a couple of days ago about him. He bought him as a yearling, loved him as a yearling, and he said, I know Arrogate got off to a slow start and all that, but any horse can come up with at least one good one, and this is the one, I'm sure. Those who had invested in yearlings by Arrogate expecting to get an Arrogate have primarily been disappointed. They have not developed. There's been a couple of one-Wayne filly horses very good as well, but Cave Rock is the goods, and I think you're going to see him go on. And he earned a triple-digit buyer number as a 2-year-old, a 101 buyer number, which, by the way, far exceeds what anything's done at Saratoga. So I think he'll come back on the futurity. That's going 7/8 of a mile. That'll be perfect for him. He'll then probably run out here in the middle distance race, American Pharoah, and then go to the Breeders' Cup. Good gamble for me because we had very good works, by the way, on Practical Move on our website and what I wrote up on my What You Need to Know, and he was 24 to 1. I didn't think he could win, but he ran second. That's all I needed him to run second.
That's all you need there.
And that's what happened. That was a powerful race. Should be very productive race. Ultimate Gamble, who was fourth, $1.7 million yearling. They still like him, even though I got beat 12 lengths. So I think that's going to be very productive. But as far as Cave Rock is concerned, he is the goods. I'm telling you, I'm not saying he's the American Pharaoh Justify yet, but so far so good. And the most impressive 2-year-old winner I've seen this year.
Probably next up, as you mentioned, Del Mar Futurity. That's September 11th, closing day. And again, that weekend of closing weekend at Del Mar with no New York racing on the scene, there are going to be a lot of eyes on the Del Mar signal, and you could see a future star there in Cave Rock. Our other star of tomorrow to look at on this week's show is Expressman. Now, after this debut performance that we're going to take a look at Saratoga, maybe the marketing guys at ExpressBet can negotiate something. We need to drop the E from the horse's name and just start with the X, because he made an exclamation point in the debut. Let's go back.
The 3/16 pole. It's Expressman in front, Unlimited Potential, running in second and running a bit erratically there through the stretch. Farther back it is Southern Flag in third. But it is Expressman who was put on the lead right from the start and will win wire to wire to take his debut. Expressman over Unlimited Potential.
Todd Pletcher running 1-2 in that maiden special weight, with the 3-year-old Expressman coming in on top. Jeff, he was purchased as a 2-year-old by Leon's Map, $325,000 buy, and didn't make it to the races. Usually when you spend a lot on a 2-year-old in those 2-year-old in training sales, I think this one was bought at Timonium, you want a quick return on investment. This one took 13, 14 months after the purchase to get back, but will it be worth the wait?
I think it will be if he can stay sound and healthy, and sometimes they make you wait. An Expressman who would have been obviously a terrific 2-year-old last year based on his raw ability, but has to wait until August of his 3-year-old season. But the way he ran, and not only did he win it effortlessly, and not only did he earn a 107 bar number, which is already in the grade 1, grade 2 type range for older sprinters, but Expressman, beautiful mover, outstanding athlete, got over the ground easily, never was asked the final 16th of a mile, appeared to win with plenty left, and ran 7/8 of a mile. It wasn't like he was doing it at 5 at 5.5. Right. You can run 7/8 like that, Jeremy, you can go a mile. And Liam's Map was a fantastic miler, maybe underrated in the last 10, 15 years in terms of his ability. And Expressman, I'm not sure I'm not sure what Todd's going to do with him, but I certainly think that he has a feeling that he's going to go a mile at least. Yeah. Whether or not he stretches him out after just one race remains to be seen. But very exciting, incredibly talented. Let's just hope he can build on this race and become the kind of horse that he was cut out to be.
Wouldn't be shocked to see him at the Malibu by the end of the year.
Oh,
7 furlongs, December 26th, Santa Anita coming west as a straight 3-year-old, late developer, 1-turn horse. Could be something to keep an eye on there. That wraps up our 5 topics this week. Is our proper lineup, gives you 5, but we like to throw in a bonus most weeks. We've got one for you this week. Jeff, just south of me, coming up on Friday night at Citizens Bank Ballpark down in Philadelphia, they're going to have the Mets and Phillies playing a night game. And then following after the show, or after the game, it's quite a show. It's the I Love the 90s post-game conference. And when you look at this concert lineup, Vanilla Ice, Rob Bass, Tone Loc, and DJ Jazzy Jeff, without the Fresh Prince, I guess, after slapping around Chris Rock, that Will Smith's not going to make it in for the concert anymore. But this is quite a lineup, Jeff. I mean, do you recognize these guys?
Absolutely not. No, my taste in music died after the 80s, I think.
So Vanilla Ice, you got Ice Ice Baby.
But from 1990 on, I'm a little bit fuzzy, but I'm sure they're very good.
You've got Vanilla Ice with Ice Ice Baby. Rob Bass and DJ Easy Rock, they had the big hit, It Takes Two. You might recall that one. Tone Loc had Wild Thing. Obviously, you've heard of Tone Loc and Wild Thing. And, of course, DJ Jazzy Jeff is the other half of the Fresh Prince combo, who the other guy became quite a bit more popular. DJ Jazzy Jeff will be playing after the Phillies and Mets. But make a little fun of this one, because I want you to go and put on your concert promoter hat. And I knew you wouldn't know these artists so much, but you do know the horses of the 90s. So if Jeff Siegel had to put on a I Love the 90s horse tour, you get 4 acts, Jeff. These are the 9 horses of the year from the 1990s. There's not 10 because Cigar won it twice. You get these 9 horses to pick from. Who does Jeff Siegel put on the stage in a 4-act concert?
Okay, well, AP Indy for sure. I was around him when Neil Drysdale had him as an unraced 2-year-old and watched him breeze and gallop before he ever ran. Really liked AP Indy. So he's there for sure. In fact, he's the lead guy. Then you've got Cigar. I mean, Cigar, I actually had the good pleasure of having a horse that beat Cigar once. But that was before Cigar became Cigar. So we beat him on the grass. It doesn't really count, but so he's there. Skip Away was such a neat horse. He was a throwback. He wasn't a great young horse, but he was great as an older horse. He ran and he danced all the dances. Kind of an off-bred type of horse. Never really made it as a stallion, but Skip Away to me was a fun horse, and of course he won the Breeders' Cup out here in California. Yeah. I liked him. And then for the last one, I have a soft spot in my heart for Charismatic because he was a claiming horse that won the Kentucky Derby. You don't see that many of those, and in fact, he ran in a claiming race in January of his 3-year-old season, and I'll never forget. Wayne Lucas was quoted as saying that Charismatic, he ran him for a tag because he wanted him to get a confidence-building win. Right. He needed to win the race, and the horse hadn't been winning, and he thought that a win, and he didn't think he'd lose him, and he thought this was going to be the thing that jump-started Charismatic onto a winning performance. And then I talked to Bob Lewis after that, and he said he didn't think he was any good. That's why he ran him for 62. So I kind of believe Bob Lewis on that one, but those are 4 really neat horses that I think that I would pay to see run again for sure. All right.
Jeff Siegel's tour, AP Indy, Charismatic, Skip Away, and Cigar. I guess Charismatic takes the Vanilla Ice roll as the one-hit wonder.
Fair enough.
Two hits, okay. 2 hits through the Triple Crown. That's going to wrap up It's Official this week. Let's take a quick run through our 5 topics that are now official because Jeff Siegel said so. The good times roll on at Del Mar, off to big business here, and we think the end of the meet could be a little hidden gem as well. Dollars and divots on the turf in the Arlington Million at Louisville. We give it a thumbs down and bid farewell to what it was a great race at one point, but now just another turf race that it feels like. The Spa Chalk bit the dust a couple times this week. We took a look at the results from the 4-Star Dave and also the Saratoga Special. Big Invasion, the matchup with Golden Powell that potentially looms on the horizon after the 3-year-old Big Invasion won his 6th race in a row. We're looking forward to a potential matchup of those 2 elite turf spinners. And in our Stars of Tomorrow segment, 1 for Pletcher, 1 for Baffert. Big surprise there. For Pletcher, it's the 3-year-old Express Man. And for Baffert, it's the 2-year-old Cave Rock. Jeff, really quick final thought on here. I didn't ask you during the show, but I'd be remiss if I didn't. Cave Rock, and then you had Having a Meltdown, Baffert's horse who won the Best Pal on Sunday. Who do you like better between those 2-year-olds as potential prospects? One's got the stakes win already, but it sounded like you were pretty bullish on Cave Rock, the maiden break.
I think it's not really a comparative. I mean, Cave Rock's different level. The other colt's good, and we talked about him trying to get it while he can, a son of Uncaptured who will win races up until the real horses show up. Well, they haven't showed up. They're starting to show up now, but they're both trained by Bob Baffert, so I don't know if they'll run against each other. But when you see a horse, a real horse, you know it. I mean, you see it and you know it. It's like scouting a basketball player or a football player. You watch them go through their workouts, you know it. And I know it with this colt. And Cave Rock to me is, if he stays healthy, there is no way on earth he doesn't become a Grade 1 winner sometime, somewhere.
Let's leave it on that high note. On behalf of everybody with First Technologies, my partner Jeff Siegel, I'm Jeremy Plonk. Be sure to check in tomorrow for Wednesday's Juddmonte International simulcast at ExpressBet and First Bet. And Jeff and I will be back with you on Friday with our First Call podcast for the weekend. Good luck, everybody.